And Love Changes is a global nonprofit that is dedicated to ending child abuse through awareness, healing, and community action. So, a true heart led leader, to say the least. Joshua, Merry Christmas, my friend. Happy Thursday. It's so good to see you this morning. How are you?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and a pleasure to see you as well, Rhett. And
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
alive. I'm breathing. I mean, there's no better gift than that. How about
I
you
love
guys?
your mindset, man.
Amen.
We're
Amen,
we're
man.
doing
Amen.
incredible. And I want to kick off this conversation because, when we talk about what is love changes, I know that you are a survivor yourself of abuse, and you have truly transformed your personal trauma into a mission to build what is a forever home. And I love
Yeah.
the things that you are really your
Yeah.
cornerstones, which are making sure that children feel safe, seen, and free. Now, this may be
Amazing.
a misconception from my side, but when I hear those three things together, being seen to me almost seems like the catalyst for everything else to follow suit. I want to understand if you agree with that. And secondly, how you and your incredible organization is not just making sure that these children are feeling seen, but then that it leads to feeling safe and feeling free.
I love that. And you're absolutely right. There's so many times in people's lives where not being seen is what leads to disaster because them not feeling seen then puts them in a position where they no longer feel that they can be themselves. And not being able to be yourself, I think, is the worst thing in all of life because it takes away your soul, it takes away your freedom, it takes away your expression. And so, what we focus on is actually what I got right here. I I wanted to make sure that a child in my position 16, 17 years old who is just discovering like, oh my gosh, I lived through this entire life and I don't even know what's wrong with me. I gave them the hardest parts of my life so that way they could then share a part of themselves. And that's how I start the process for someone to be able to feel seen. Because to be able to feel seen by someone else, you must first be able to see yourself. Just like in the sense of like before you can, find a partner and you can truly love that partner, you have to love yourself because how are you supposed to fill
Yeah.
somebody's cup if yours is already empty? So that's how we're starting. We're starting from the individual. And in one conversation, you can change a whole life of not feeling seen to being seen. I've talked to people who are that abused child, but they're 60, 70 years old, but they're
Yeah.
still at that mindset of 5 years old of my father didn't see me when I most needed him. And now I'm still stuck in that one act of my life because I need healing from that moment for somebody to see me, connect with me, and say, hey, I love you the way that you are. You have more potential than you know. But all you have to do is step out of your current circumstances and see that there's a whole life ready for you.
Man, that is beautiful, Joshua.
Unbelievable. I got
What
chills.
a yeah, like I got yeah, I was saying.
Yeah.
Um, what? So many really amazing questions, and I'd love to understand about poetry and talking about empathy, and because I feel like if you've gone through that, empathy is really hard because anger is the easiest emotion there, right?
Most definitely.
So how do you move towards how do you get people to and I'd just love to know a little bit about how that
Yeah.
happens because it seems to me anger is so easy, empathy is really hard. And how does that happen?
So I'll give you my personal experience. My father was actually the one who did the 16 years of physical and mental abuse. And as somebody that is like so, close to you, you expect so much. You
Hmm.
expect caring, you expect forgiveness, you expect what you think of as a father. And for me, I had to think about myself. I was holding on to all this anger, and there was this really good quote who I can't remember where it's from, some type of Buddhist teachings. But if I give you a gift and you don't receive it, I still have the gift. And that's the same thing in
Hmm.
anger. And I was holding on to this anger, and it was corrupting me inside. And I had to start. looking at like, well, why did this happen to me? And that's where it brought the empathy of where I saw the life that my father lived, and the things that his dad didn't do for him affected him in such a way that he had to take that anger out on me. And if I let that anger continue cycling, then I would take that out on my child. And I had to empathize with my father, because if I didn't empathize with my father, I would never be able to forgive him. And the forgiveness isn't for him, it's for me.
Yeah.
Because if I hold on to that, if I don't ever forgive him, then how can I ever forgive myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the poetry side, for the empathy, it's we carry things inside of us, and sometimes poetry may be the easiest way, but sometimes it's dancing, sometimes it's singing, sometimes it's fighting. There's so many different ways that we can express ourselves through our body, through our minds, and our thoughts. And through all these different actions are different therapeutic ways to let go of what we've been holding on to.
Mm.
That's very
Did I answer your
powerful.
question?
Right there.
Yeah,
there, man.
that's extremely powerful, Joshua. And I want to ask an additional question, a little bit based on what we were talking about with Ty. So I used that quote with Ty about be careful what you say because you're always listening, right? And whether it's with the forgiveness and empathy of forgiving yourself so then you can be able to forgive others, or whether it's, giving yourself that love so then you can give love to others, or so on and so forth, right? I want to understand, as you start to work with, some of the people that you do, no matter their age range, how do you help them in terms of, first off, really shedding what is the limiting belief, and empowering them to not only shift their perspective to see things differently and understand that relationship between the two, but then ultimately be able to get back on a trajectory that's leading them towards an empowered life, and one in which they do feel very seen, they feel loved, and they have empathy and forgiveness, flowing through them for others.
I love that question, because I feel like that really goes into everything I've been doing since day one. Because when I started this nonprofit, I didn't like file a organization. I didn't go out and start handing out business cards. It all started from one act of saying, I see a problem. How can I counter this problem? And now people come to me and they say, "Oh, you're with Love Changes. I heard a little bit about what you do, and I understand your story. Can you help me?" And they come with me like, "Please solve my whole life." But it's so funny because when they come to me, the things that they say, um, I, I'm trying to think of a direct. The closest one would be somebody who's had problems their entire life. They come to you and then they say, and then they start listing all the problems that they have, and then they go, and this and this, and my dad hurt me this way, and they keep on repeating the same things of different actions that have like held them in this like spot, and they're only focused on this problem. And then so I say, well, let's take a pause here. I see you keep on talking about this same problem where these people, you expect them to
Mm.
do something and then they don't do it, and then you're disappointed. Where do you think that comes from? Because this seems to be a repeating problem in your life, that you see people doing these things. So every person, they already know what's wrong with them. They just need somebody to be able to hold a safe space and say, I'm going to be here with you. Maybe we might not, solve all the problems, but at least you'll be able to be open and feel safe to say what's been on your mind and what you've been holding on to inside. And I feel that we all have the cure inside of us all. We all feel broken in some type of way, that we're not fully complete. But I think we're all complete when we're in a community, because we're able to see each other as a reflection of ourselves and be able to hold a safe space and say, I'm going to be here with you, and you're going to be able to say what you need to say, and we're going to figure this out together. I feel like that's really all that everybody needs. And that's what the Forever Homes are all about. It's about providing that safe space where, if you're in a bad spot, you can come here. You can receive the help that you need, whether that's a shoulder to cry on, or whether that's just a safe place to sleep for a few nights to get your head on straight.
Yeah. That's incredible, Joshua. And, first off, you had me at hello in terms of, first off, your wisdom, let alone your true heart-led leadership and entrepreneurship, and the way that you have approached this, let alone created such incredible impact. I would love to make sure that you and I have a little bit of a deeper conversation. I'm sure Rhett would love to chat with you as well, so we can see how we can conjoin forces and create, collaborate, and inspire on a much greater level together than we can separately. So I will definitely be reaching out to you with some invitations, but not obligations. You definitely got to come back on some of our other shows. And I know that for anybody in our audience that's tuning in, they can get in touch with you and learn more about Love Changes at lovechanges.org. Before I let you go, Joshua, any final words or any additional plugs in terms of where people can get in touch with you?
We have a YouTube, the Love Changes vlog, if they like to check us out there, where this video will eventually be up there as well. Thank you
I love
guys
it.
so much for your time.
Absolutely. And make sure to hold up that book one more time as well. I want to make sure that everybody knows you have your free poetry ebook, which is Why Should I Live? And this was your first true step from trauma to transformation. So make sure everybody reach out and get involved with Josh and Love Changes. Josh, my friend, have an incredible rest of your holiday season and a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you, Joshua.
Beautiful. All righty, man, oh man. We started with the fighter and the resilience, and now we got the heart-led leadership, and now it is time to get what I would call an MBA in a day from our friend, Mr. Joel. Right, you make me laugh. You made me laugh before I could even finish it. Joe Hillier, my friend, he is coming to us from Eagle, Idaho, and he is a fractional founder at Hillier Consulting. So, Dr. Joel, it is great to see you, my friend. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. How are you this fine morning?
Tremendous with a capital T. Thanks for having me here. And,
that's beautiful.
Good to have you, man. Good to have you.
Although I'm living in Eagle, I don't sound like I'm from Eagle. I'm actually not.
All I can say is I hope you're staying warm this time of year.
Well, it's been the warmest winter they've ever had, I reckon. So.
Really? My goodness. I'm in back in Michigan in my hometown right now, and I can tell you I don't have a single speck of snow on the ground, and it was 47 degrees and sunny yesterday. So I don't know what's going on, but let's get to the boardroom here, as I know our audience is very excited to be able to learn from you. And when you hear fractional founder, right? You hear fractional CMOs or COOs or so on and so forth very regularly, but I find that to be very, very unique. And what I want to understand from you are, first off, where did kind of the inspiration come from in terms of fractional founder versus a specific executive role? And then when you are working with various different companies, and you've worked with companies from all across the world, whether it's in the US, Australia, Europe, Africa, Asia, just about every single continent, what are some of the signals or the indicators that you see that a fractional founder would be way more valuable to a company versus a fractional CMO, COO, or a specific executive type?
Yeah, two good questions. So I've been a business consultant for the longest time and worked as a consultant, walking in and out of lots of different types and sizes of organizations. And typically in that kind of role, you're expected to be almost like a business owner in a sense, because they want you to solve some business problem. And sometimes that's a relatively short engagement, and other times it's a pretty long one in terms of like a year or a year and a half. And so in that context is where I learned a lot of the things that would help me to do what I do now. And so being a growth founder or a fractional founder essentially came because of that experience as a business consultant and business strategist. So facilitating lots of problem solving sessions or strategic conversations, if you like, with people who wanted a perspective from someone who wasn't totally invested in the organization and could walk in point blank and say things that perhaps someone who inside couldn't say those sorts of things. So that was really what led me to that experience. So also working with businesses, small and large, in sort of a coaching role for executives, it helped me see that there's a gap in the market there. So yes, people need CMOs or CXOs or C somethings, but the point of being a fractional founder essentially was to say, look, I'm going to join your board or your executive team for a period of time, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be like a business consultant, except I'm going to be on the inside this time. And so I want to know more of the workings of the organization over a longer period, whatever that is. And so people would engage me to help them strategize their business from whatever stage they are to the next level.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's I love that. It's in a lot of ways it's what the same thing that I do. And I'm so curious. I was having this discussion yesterday with a friend, and we were debating on whether leadership is harder today because there's so many minefields for founders and CEOs, uh, and we all know what those are. But it's also harder to see around the corners that we have to see around today. Like, I mean, to look at the future and say, that I know my business is going in this direction, or I need to do this to get there. And I think that's harder because things are moving at such a rapid pace now. I saw something this morning. AI is doubling in its capacity every 3.5 months, right?
Mhm.
Uh, what do you think about? I mean, how are the people you're working with? How are you helping them think about the future?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And I don't think any one person has a really good handle on the future.
Yeah,
There are
that's what
lots
I
of
would say.
voices out
That's what I
there
would say. Yeah.
that'll tell you all sorts of things. And so I think the point of it is to say, what is the future that you want? Which is a different kind of thing to contemplate. And so I could try and tell you what I think is going to happen in the world of AI or in the world of business, but I would be wrong probably most of the time because there
As
are
we all would. Yeah.
so many moving parts to all of that. So I think the idea here, and certainly this works on a personal level as well, is say, what is the future that I want to design for myself or for my business? And then how do I do that? And that's much easier to control because I can control a lot of things within my own realm. As a business, a lot of founders don't understand that they have more power over the future of their business than they think they do. And so that's something that I help them try and understand. Say, what is in your remit as a founder, as a business owner, or a business executive? And part of those things are, we would call them profit levers. So there are certain profit levers which are the same no matter what sort of business that you work with. And so looking at those and having excuse me, having a structure or a lens through which you look at the future, say, well, in the future of this part of my business, what can I do? What's in my control to a certain extent that I can create or design in to the way the business runs? And if you do that, you find you can get much further ahead than if you just go, what is the future like and how do I respond to it? And that's too general. So when you break something down into the specifics, it's much easier to move forward.
That's fantastic. And Dr. Joel, I'm going to land our plane here by diving into a question that is regarding what is your background, especially as competing in multiple different world championships. I know that you have, competed across 4 different continents and multiple different world championships, and that's in cross triathlon and duathlon. Is that correct?
Yeah, duathlon, yes.
Beautiful. So what I'd like to learn is because, especially being around David and Rhett and so many, accomplished, not just business people, but also on the athlete and the entertainer side, there's this subtlety of success, which is the desire that you must be what you can be. And I would say that through your track record and the success that you've had in the boardroom, that is evidently clear. But I also love someone that is has both a right and a left hook and then applies it to more of a personal passion as well. And so I want to understand from your side, what are some of the lessons that you have learned through the world championships and the competitions and the trainings and so on and so forth that is also applicable, not just in the personal passion, but of course in the boardroom and working with these many different companies all across the world?
Yeah, I like that. There's a couple of things about it. And honestly, it's again what one of your earlier guests said. She said, just go chase things down in a sense. And so I go, well, for me, that was it. I had some, personal tragedies and some difficult experiences earlier in my life. And what I'd learned out of that was that, again, like what I just said in business, there's a lot more that you can do than that you can't do. And so I took that approach to whatever I was doing in the sporting arena. And I didn't start in the competitive sports until I was in my 40s. And so, I mean, I did as a young person, I was a distance runner and different things, but I didn't start competing in triathlon until I was in my 40s. And so that was a bit of a thing that I did to try and create positive energy in my life. So I can make things in my life go this way, or I can make them go this way. One's negative and one's positive. So it was really about that, trying to figure out how can I divert energy that is there into something that will give me a return on investment. And so one time I Googled epic places to go trail running, and I found about 20 of them around the world, and I booked a round the world ticket and went for about 3 months and just went solo run hiking, backpacking around the world for 3 months, and just to go and have, if you like, a wilderness experience. And I think in our lives, everyone needs a wilderness experience of some sort to try and help them understand, not so much, I didn't need to find myself. I knew who I was, but I just wanted to find perhaps some of the limits of my capacity and to understand what I could endure that would be more than I was presently doing. And I just wanted to explore that part, that boundary in my own life, and found some very rewarding experiences. So competing in a world championship, I'm not a world champion, but I've competed in a few of them. I managed to sort of be an Australian champion in my age group for cross triathlon, but it was really about how do I put in the work on a daily basis that no one will ever see except me. And unless I post it on Instagram or Strava, because if it's not on Strava, then it didn't happen. So it was like, what can I do that is just a competition against myself? And that's the hardest opponent to beat in reality, is the one that you set up for yourself, because I found that the only person that says no is me. Anything else I could achieve if I wanted to, if I put in the work and surrounded myself with the people that would help me to get there and use the right tools. So those are the lessons that I found very valuable. So competing in competitive sports, whether a team or individual, doesn't really matter. It's the discipline that comes from doing something consistently in moments that other people would say, well, that's out of my comfort zone. We'll go, that's how you get hard things done, is you move out of your comfort zone and you do things that are a stretch for you. Because if it's not a stretch, then it doesn't feel like it was worth it in some respects.
Oh my goodness. All I can say is, wow. That is exactly it. And Red, before we let our friend Dr. Joel go enjoy the rest of his holiday, I wanted to ask, did you have any final closing thoughts or questions, especially, and I love Rhett to death, like genuinely, for anybody that's on here, he is one of my closest friends and mentors and someone that I turn to. And the moment when you started talking about whether it was wilderness or utilizing nature for some of those experiences, I go, I know Rhett has something. So I'm going to be kicking myself in the butt if I don't kick it to you.
No. We do have to land it, but Joel, what a beautiful thing, and you are a world champion, by the way, because you're a world champion in your mindset, and you have the quote of the day for me, man. I mean the whole, and I actually moved my screen over and wrote this down. There's more that you can do than you can't do, and I mean that drove home the theme of the day for me. So
100%. Well, Dr. Joel, we can't thank you enough for joining us and spending a little bit of time here, especially on a holiday, to empower our community with your wisdom. Everybody can reach out and get in touch with you with hillierconsulting.com.au. And of course, I know that they can find you on LinkedIn as well. Any final words or anything you'd like to share before we let you go?
Yeah, I would say give yourself the permission to do the things that you always wanted to do, because you'll find they're easier if you start than they are if you just think about them.
My goodness, that is it right there, my friend. Dr. Joe Hillier, thank you so much for blessing us this morning. Have an incredible rest of your holiday season, and a Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you guys so much. Whew, baby, we are blessed. I already know what your takeaway is, and I want you to reshare it and maybe add a little bit of extra gravy on it for us. But it was the exact same thing I did, was shifting over my screen so I could write that one down. But Mr. Power, what is your takeaway of the day, my friend?
and there's no added gravy to it because it is just so profound, right? And it's such the mindset. Tia was talking about it. Joshua was talking about it. I mean, it was the whole idea that um, I am the one. I've got to do this, and I think one of the things that we didn't, and maybe there's a little color here. One of the things that maybe they didn't say, but I do think is true, is they're
Hmm.
all doing this for themselves. They're not doing this for anybody else. They're doing it to conquer their own, like to push themselves beyond their comfort zone, and they're doing it because they have to. I just love this. There's more that you can do than you can't do. I think that's a great takeaway for the day for me. And what a way to live, man. What
Yes.
a way to live that. Like if that is the way you want to live your life, that's it.
That's gonna be the new quote that is plastered on my computer screen. So it's that daily reminder
100%.
and affirmation every day. And for me, my takeaway, of course, I love Tie to Death, and we could do the losing is lessons or failure is feedback or so on and so forth. But actually, my takeaway really comes from Joshua, and what he had said was, we are complete when we are in community. And the reason that that really
Wow.
resonated with
Yeah.
me, yeah, is because we talk about this community building thing all day long, right? And I've seen and I've been continued to watch as our community has grown. I mean, it's 5 a.m. Pacific on the West Coast and 8:48 a.m. Eastern time on Christmas morning, and I've seen nothing but our community continue to aggregate. You see the comments about, wow, this is so powerful. Merry Christmas! What a great way to start the day, and not just the power that he is bringing to his community, but all of our guests, right? In the way that that continues to empower one another, but also gives all of us a sense of that completeness, because when we are in community, we are complete. So that was the one that definitely shook my world outside of there is a lot more we can do than can't do. And Rhett, it is a true pleasure and an honor. I look forward to so many more shows and opportunities that we get to jam on. But this was truly, and I'm not kidding you, this was my first gift I got to open this morning. So this is no better way for me to start the day
Thank you,
than
brother.
with my man, Mr. Rhett Power. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy that family of yours. Give them all my love, and I'll be giving you a call here probably throughout the weekend so we can catch up. Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Of course, much love, my friend. And before we go ahead and end this, do want to invite, but not obligate, everybody to come and join us. Of course, we checked off 200 cities this year, and we already have 200 cities lined up for 2026, hosting community meetups, VIP dinners, masterminds, holding courts, keynote speeches, VIP dinners, TV shows, documentaries, and everything in between. After the holiday, we will be hosting our first community meetup down in Ecuador. So if you are traveling down there or based down there, please make sure to reach out to us so we can coordinate when it'll work best for everybody. Then it'll be back to Orange County, California. We have our last VIP dinner of the year with the Cali Power crew, Bruce Tollner, Coach Ryan Porter, and so many others this Sunday in Orange County, California. Then it is off for the big trip. We got Dubai, Zanzibar, Tanzania, then back to Dubai for the 1 billion follower summit, and then over to Fort Lauderdale, Florida with our Aspire Business Tour family. We got Gary Vee and David Goggins and Eddie Wilson, Andrew Cordell, and so many others. If that is too hard to keep track of, good. That's why we created our text community, to remind everybody where we're gonna be, and to invite but not obligate. So if you would like the reminders, just make sure to text us at 949-298-2905. Once again, just 949-298-2905. I want to thank every single person in our community, and of course our guests with Ty, Joshua, and Dr. Joel for joining us here today and pouring into our community with our wisdom. I want to thank David for the opportunity to step up and step in and serve as your co-host for the day, or one of your co-hosts for the day. And as we close out the show, and as I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, I want to remind everybody to continue to be more interested than interesting, and be kind to your future self, and do good deeds. Hit it, Gigi.